everybody, we're back to do the Tropical Birds project. This is a super fun project. I'm really excited to start. So first we're going to make sure we have all of the supplies we need. You need a pencil, you need your large watercolor paper, you need crayons or your favorite oil pastels, you need a water container with water in it, and you need your favorite watercolors. Any brand is fine. And then at the very end, we're going to add interest using black Sharpie markers, which you should have, or black markers. Okay, so all of that is up to you. The stuff that's in your kit is the paper. The rest of it is stuff that you should have around. You don't have to have crayons and oil pastels. One or the other is fine. So let's get started. I'm going to start by drawing out my bird design around the middle of our white paper. So look at how much space I have around him, you or her, and you can, wherever you want the most flowers or the most leaves, that's how you want your bird to be designed. All right, so if you wanted equal amounts around the edges, then your bird will go in the middle. Otherwise, you can shift him or her just a little bit. So we're going to start with a pencil, and I've got my Tropical Birds card out, and I'm going to look on the back, and I've got these awesome ideas for different bird shapes that I just love. And the one that is on our original is this guy right here. So I think I'm going to do a different bird. I think I want to try, I'm going to mix a couple of patterns together. So I want, let's just see what happens. I'm just going to go for it. I think I'll try parts of this guy. So this guy starts with a capital letter D. You see that? That's a big capital letter D. So I'm going to draw him up here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that it's easier to see my pencil drawing. There we go. So I started with the back of the D, and I'm going to very lightly draw that D. Then I'm going to make his beak come out of the top of the D, down like that, and then I'll draw it into the bird. I feel like maybe I want that to go down a little bit more. So I'm going to erase that line, and I'm going to put him there. Yeah, I think I like how fun and big that is. And then I'm going to make his smile. I'm going to do a backwards C into that line. My original bird had a big old open eye, so I think I'm going to get this shut eye. That's cool. And now I'm going to put the bird's wing on here, just kind of like a raindrop shape. And I'll lightly erase the inside. And make a little design in that wing. And then let's put a tail on him. And there we go. It's got a nice little tail. And this bird had some stripes. You can use any of these designs you want, or you can make up your own bird design. I can't wait to see what it is you do. Please make sure to upload your designs to your favorite social media and then tag us, tag the studio, Little Sots, and use the hashtag Little Sots Projects. I cannot wait to see what you make. So there's my bird, and I'll zoom out a little bit. So my bird is about right here. now we're gonna lightly draw in some of those other leaf shapes that we want to make happen. Maybe sometimes it's leaves, maybe sometimes you want a tropical flower, or maybe you just want all of them to be leaves. We're not going to draw in every single leaf. We're just going to focus on maybe the ones that we want to put some oil pastels in. So if you'll look at the ones like right here and here and here, even here and here, those are all areas where we've put oil pastel or crayon on top of it before we did the watercolor resist. So it adds a whole lot of really neat interest. So what I'm gonna do is actually go to one of my other cards for ideas from the Watercolor Gardens project. On the back are awesome drawings of leaves. So maybe I'm gonna start adding some of those in there. So I'm gonna flip over. I want some of these to be really large and some of these to be really small. So I'm going to, over here, do a cut luster of small flowers. It's important to make some of your designs go off of the page and some of them to stay on the page. You don't want everything huddled in the middle. All right, so I've got some of my flowers done there. I'm going to make, I really like this leaf. I think I'm gonna have him over there. All right, now I'm gonna flip into, I'm gonna push pause and I'm gonna go ahead and flip into time-lapse mode so I can lightly draw the rest of this out. See you in the next step, everybody. Hi, welcome back. We're here to do step 2 of the Tropical Bird Project. You've already drawn out your design very lightly. It's so important that you use super light lines because if you use dark lines, we'll be able to probably see them even though we're going to paint this later on, okay? So the next step is actually for using crayons and your oil pastels. So you can use either that you want, and we're going to choose some of the areas in our bird or in some of our flowers or in our leaves to put some patterns down. You don't have to put a lot. We're just going to do some, okay? So one area that I did forget was a branch for my birdie. Okay. Alrighty, so I'm gonna use some crayons because I know a lot of people may not have oil pastels, and let's zoom in to parts of our creature. Now, you're not gonna put oil pastel or crayon everywhere, but you're gonna put it in some areas, okay? So I am going to make my birdie super bright colors, and I'm gonna use some of my brightly colored crayons to help me do that, okay? So I'm going to color in hard and dark. It's very important that whether you're using oil pastels or crayons, that you're not coloring lightly. Do you see the difference in the two that I just did? Which one do you feel represents the words hard and dark? Let me give you a second. Did you say this one? You are correct. It's very important that we color our crayons hard and dark, or our oil pastels. We don't want to make them super messy. If they start to bubble up a little bit, you can lightly brush them away. We don't want those crumbs in there. I'm gonna outline the stripes that I've put on there in another bright, fiery, fun color. Again, my lines are hard and dark. And it's the brand of oil pastels or crayons that you're using is totally up to you. I know that you can even get fancy crayons. My girls have some of those metallic ones, they have glitter ones, they have pearl ones. Oh, they just love varieties of crayons. How can you blame them though? Because crayons are so much fun. All right, now I'm gonna add another color. Ooh, look how fun this blue is. Now, one way to interject or add color in a fun way to think about it is that sometimes crayons come in colors that is hard to create or are hard to create with your watercolors. And since you know when we're done drawing this guy out and using this, our next step is actually to watercolor. If there's a color you want to use, but it's really hard for you to create that or mix that color on your own in watercolors, then can you find it in a crayon or in a oil pastel? Because that'd be a great way to add that color to your project. And I think I'm gonna add a green stripe. I love bright tropical birds. They're just so much fun. And again, the goal is not to color the whole bird or the whole leaf. You're only creating some patterns in there. And my last one, I think I'm gonna do this orange. If you're gonna brush the crayon dust away or the oil pastel dust away, be sure that you do it lightly and that you're not mashing the paper, because you could, if I mash too hard, I could have that color scrape across my paper, and that would not be what I want to have happen. All right, I just love that. Now I'm going to use some of these colors down here in the tail. One of the reasons I wanted us to draw super lightly on our project in pencil is that, for instance, if you're doing what I'm doing now and drawing in crayon, wherever you draw crayon, you're not going to be able to erase those pencil lines, so they'll be there forever. Okay, so it's really important to think about that as you are doing this. What's going to stay no matter what. All right, now I'm going to go into some of my leaf areas, and I'm going to add some things down there. All right. Again, coloring hard and dark. I'm gonna even use oil pastels just so that if there's anybody watching that has oil pastels, you can see the difference. Again, you do not have to use oil pastels. You do not have to use just crayons. You do not have to use both oil pastels or crayons. Like, just choose one or the other. You don't have to do it like this, okay? So use what you have. Having a good time designing this. Again, hard and dark lines, but organized. So I'm going to zoom out real quick. I'm going to keep adding little bits of pattern around my drawing. Now here's the thing. Do you see how I'm not coloring in things? We're not coloring our project in. We're only putting some designs on this using oil pastels or crayons. Okay, so I'm going to press the pause button and go into our super fast time lapse, and I'll see you in a minute. Just remember, don't color it in. Hey guys, welcome back. We're here for step 3 of our tropical bird project. Step 1 was draw it out. 2, add patterns in oil pastel or crayons. Either one works, and I've done both to show you that they both work the same. Now for step 3, get out your favorite watercolor and the water cup and water in it, and you'll need your watercolor brush. You can use just your big brush for watercolor. You can, if you have a small brush, you might have some detail areas that you might want to use. We are going to watercolor most of our project here. Now the first thing we're going to do is activate our watercolors. I've been using my watercolors from Michaels, and I wanted to show y'all some of what I like about my praying watercolors. I have customized my set of watercolors in that I like when I was teaching high school art, I liked requiring my high school kids to actually only have access to primary colors. And so we gutted all of our watercolors and customized every set to have 2 red, 2 yellow, 2 blue, 1 magenta, and 1 turquoise, so that the students would have to mix all of the other colors that they needed. So that's a wonderful high school thing to do. I love the extended packs like the 16 pack and then 48 packs and other ones like that where you don't have to do that, where the kids get access to a whole bunch of colors at once and you don't have to mix them. So that's super, I really enjoy that as well. So I've mixed a deeper blue here. I want to use a dark blue for my bird because I think it'll show up really pretty with my colors that I've put on here. Okay, now some of the parts of this project I'm going to pre-wet my paper, but in some of them, like what I'm doing now, I don't want to pre-wet my paper. I just want to paint directly over them, over the paper, and just paint on dry. This is a dry technique. And as you can see, look what happens when I paint. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that. When I paint over my crayon, it acts as what we call a resist, and it doesn't paint on top of the crayons or oil pastels, whichever one you used. And I just love that. It's so much fun. You can paint directly over where you've added crayon or oil pastel, and it'll start to pull away. If you don't want to have those little beaded areas, we can remove the paint, and I'll show you how to do that as soon as I finish just this step right here. Oh, I just love it. Look how bright my crayons are and how much they pop against that. Now what I'm doing right now is I am rinsing out my brush all the way, okay? And then, let me zoom out so you can see. I'm washing out my brush. I want to remove some of that. And I'm going to squeegee out my bristles so there's no water remaining in it. Now watch what happens when I zoom in. I've squeegeed out my bristles. There's no water. And I'm going to drag my brush on top of the area that I want to remove the watercolor. Do you see how it just lifts it off the surface? Isn't that awesome? I just love that. Now, if you didn't color hard and dark, then your oil pastels or your crayons, the watercolor can paint on top of them. So the harder and waxier you colored, the more bright and vibrant your project actually will become. Okay, so I'll zoom back out, and now we're just going to start painting our sections in. Now I'm going to tell you, look, everywhere that's touching this blue that I've just painted, I need to like not paint this right now, because if I paint this leaf, I run the danger of leaking the bird over here. Okay, so anything that paint touches, I'm going to ignore it for a while. Okay, so I'm going to go around and paint some of my other areas. Okay, so remember to activate your watercolors. You're adding water to them. And you can use the color straight from the tube if you want, or you can do what I'm doing and you can mix your own colors. And the lid of your watercolor tray actually acts as a wonderful mixer, or a mixing tray. All right, I've got a couple of greens I want to use. So I'm going to show you another way to paint, and that's called a wet on wet technique. And I am, with a clean brush, just lightly wetting the surface of this one leaf right here. And now I'm going to start to paint in it. Notice how the paint starts to spread on its own. Love that. And then let that dry. You can add more. The less water you use and the more paint, the more brighter and vibrant your colors will be. If you get too much of a water pool, if you'd like to damp some of that off, you can with a paper towel. And then you'll just keep painting. Okay, so I'm gonna flip into time-lapse mode, and I will see you on the other side. If you want to paint some of the areas black, like parts of your bird, you can do that. Just remember that anything you paint black, we won't be able to draw a black Sharpie marker on it, okay? So take your time go slow, and have a good time with this part. I'm excited to see how yours turns out. Hey everybody, we're back for the fourth and final part of the tropical bird project. We have drawn out our bird, drawn oil pastel or crayon details on it, and then added watercolor to complete the whole painting. Now that all of that is dried, our paper is dried all of the way, the watercolor's dried all the way, we are ready to add the Sharpie marker. Now what we're going to do is go through and add details of the plants and the bird when necessary on Sharpie marker. All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to use my bird ideas to help remember where I should be drawing, and also my leaf ideas from the Watercolor Gardens project to help me know where to put my drawings. Now I'm going to make sure that I'm not pressing my Sharpie marker too heavy and dark because I want my lines to look nice. And you should also know that whenever you have oil pastels or crayons, you want to be very careful about drawing your Sharpie marker on top of those areas because it could mess up the Sharpie marker. So we're going to pay special close attention to those areas and try to be very gentle with those. Okay, so I am going to just draw on my details. Some places, like on my bird here, I am not actually drawing new details. I am outlining the ones that I already have. And then in other areas, I'm going to actually draw details that don't exist yet, like on this leaf here. So, see, that's an area that I wasn't careful and I drew over crayon. So I'm going to very carefully wipe off my Sharpie and move on. So I'm going to draw in the middle of that leaf my design, and then I'm going to finish my drawing. All right, so I'm going to push pause, and I'm going to put this in time lapse so you can see all of the details come to life. I can't wait to see yours finished. Don't forget to upload your finished drawing painting to your favorite social media site with an adult help with an adult, and tag us Little Sods, and then use the hashtag Little Sods Projects. See you soon.